Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Shiv Kapoor, and I'm going to be moderating today's session. Today, we have invited Mr. Vipin Jain to speak to us about robotics and artificial intelligence. He is the CEO and co-founder of Blended, a food robotics company that aims to make safe, personalized, and healthy food more accessible. Blended leverages the power of robotics, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and nutritious ingredients to create ro- con- contactless food robotics kiosks that can be available in universities, hospitals, grocery stores, or wherever you need them on the go. Mr. Vipin is an avid Star Trek and Star Wars fan who has always dreamed of sci-fi becoming a reality. He co-founded Blended in 2015, taking inspiration from the replicator in Star Trek, a machine that can create personalized meals on demand. Vipin is a serial entrepreneur who has co-founded 2 other companies in addition to Blended. He has a portfolio of over 30 patents and has a master's degree in physics and a bachelor's in electrical and electronics engineering. Before we let Mr. Jain take over, I would like to share a couple of housekeeping rules with you. Firstly, kindly keep your videos off and keep yourselves muted throughout the session. Secondly, please do not annotate if screen sharing has been done. And lastly, you may send in your questions for our speaker through the chat box. The second half of this call will be used to address those questions. Thank you. Mr. Vipin, kindly take over from here.
Thank you, Shiv. And hello everyone. Thanks for inviting me here. Let me share my screen. So just give me 1 second. Shiv, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good morning, everyone. Afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. So today, let me talk about my career path and the exciting and ever-changing new world of robotics and artificial intelligence. Some background on me, Shiv has talked about what I have done. So I graduated from BITS Pilani in '92 with dual degrees in EEE and physics. When I graduated, I had never imagined that I would be an entrepreneur, leave alone building a company that's mechatronics, robotics, and AI heavy. And after working at some large companies and 2 startups over a span of 23 years, I pursued my most ambitious endeavor in 2015, and that's called Blended. And we'll talk about Blended a little bit later, but today let's talk about robots in general. So this is, robots have been around for a very long time. This is the picture of the first digitally operated and programmed robot. It was invented by George Devol in 1954, and it was called Unimate. Now, Devol sold his first Unimate to General Motors, and it was installed in 1961 in a plant in New Jersey to lift hard pieces of metal from a die casting machine and stacking them. Now, for the next 50 years or so, these robots picked up speed and precision, but they were still confined to industrial use. In manufacturing, to pick and place objects, in warehouses to move pallets of goods and merchandise from one place to another, and other applications that involve repetitive tasks that had to be done over and over again. It's interesting actually that the term artificial intelligence was also coined at around the same time in 1956 by John McCarthy of MIT. Now, John, along with others from MIT, Carnegie Mellon, and IBM, became the founders and leading researchers of AI. Now, AI was also on its own course for next 50 years or so, mostly confined to very specific, very niche applications using supervised learning and unsupervised learning, two of the most popular types of machine learning involved in AI until recent times. And then at around 2015, there was an inflection point. And this inflection point, my slide moves. This inflection point was created by all these advances in robotics, the immense availability of compute power and storage capacities, which allowed neural networks to become more affordable. Deep learning and reinforcement learning allowed development of more sophisticated AI applications. Now, when you combine these advances in AI with the advances in robotics, it changes the way we look at the world. It transforms how we live, work, and eat. Now, what kind of changes? These are by using AI. Now, robots can interact with humans in a safe and pleasant way. What else? By using AI, robots are also able to adopt human-like features and behaviors. Opportunities are endless. You can imagine any problem, and that will be solvable in the future by leveraging robotics and AI. But in today's talk, let's focus on a small subset, very small subset, and we'll focus on how robotics and AI is transforming the way our society manufactures, delivers, heals, and feeds us. And these 4 areas alone offer tremendous job and career advancement opportunities. Now, if you look at our supply chain, it's pretty unstable because of issues around diseases, labor markets, natural disasters that can disrupt supply chains. Robotics and AI can allow us to strengthen the supply chain. In manufacturing, if you look at that space, robots are easing the burden on humans by performing repetitive tasks and allowing workers to redirect their energy to more creative or more complex tasks. I'm sure many of you have seen delivery robots. These robots are helping to meet higher demand while reducing the environmental footprint. Robots in healthcare are greatly reducing complications and allowing patients to recover quickly and safely. And when you think about robots in food space, near and dear to my heart, they're helping grow, harvest, and prepare food that's faster, more consistent, more reliable, safer, and most importantly, more affordable. So these are some of the applications. Let's look at these in some more detail so you get a better appreciation for what's involved. So manufacturing and warehouses have seen robots for a very long time. Here is a picture of a Tesla factory that uses specialized robots throughout their assembly lines. Now, what I'm going to show you next is even more fun. Now, Tesla uses robots from a company called KUKA, which also provides industrial robots to other customers like BMW, Airbus, and Siemens. Now, here is the fun fact. Tesla factory has 160 or so specialized robots that are named after X-Men characters like Iceman and Wolverine. In fact, Tesla has 10 of the larger robots in the world. Now let's watch this video. It's really fascinating.
The role of the Body Center is to take all the stamping panels that we make and we bring all that together in one central location. And that's where we actually put the Model S together. We'll start and we do an underbody, which is the main floor system of the car. And then from there, we'll move to body sides. That's the internal reinforcement as well as the outer skin. And inside the framing area, we take the body sides, the underbody, and the front end of the car, and we actually marriage it all together. One of the most unique things about this.
So this was a short clip. Now, these robots are being used by Tesla and other car companies, and they can do everything from painting the vehicles to adding in seats to assembling windshields. Pretty amazing application of robotics. Now, here is a picture of a FANUC robotic arm on the left side. And FANUC offers these industrial robots to manufacturing customers. They have been doing it for a long time. These robotic arms use computer vision for enhanced viewing capability. AI also helps the robotic arms judge depth more accurately And machine learning allows these robots to get smarter as time progresses, improving their accuracy and ability to respond to different situations that they might encounter on the production line. On the right side, you see a picture of an Amazon warehouse that uses company's own fulfillment robots to carry inventory to the employees for order fulfillment. Now, these picker robots also use AI to improve accuracy and ability to approach items of different size, texture, weight, when they're bulk sorting these items. And also, obviously, navigating around the warehouse and getting to the fulfillment place. Now, delivery is another fascinating area that will see tremendous growth moving forward, both road-based delivery and aerial. Here on the screen, you see drones from Airbus on the top left and Uber on the top right, and an autonomous delivery vehicle from Nuro, that's a company around here. There are other players in this space like Starship that you might have heard about. It's a Bay Area-based company. But this is another fascinating area. Now, this is a picture of Airbus robot or drone that is conducting trials in Singapore, where they are able to deliver packages from a port to a ship offshore. Let's play this video clip.
Lifting off from Marina South Pier in Singapore, the Airbus Skyways drone made its first autonomous 1.5 kilometers flight to Eastern Working Anchorage. The drone landed on the deck of Swire Pacific Offshore's anchor handling tug supply vessel, MV Pacific Centurion, and deposited its cargo without a hitch before returning to its base. The entire delivery, from takeoff to ship and then back to landing at base, took 10 minutes of flight time.
The now proven.
So this is another fascinating application of something that used to take hours and hours and was unsafe, and especially given the current pandemic, you can imagine using drones to deliver medical supplies or essential supplies. It's absolutely phenomenal application of using robotics and drones. So that's about delivery. And this is the robot from Nuro. It's a road-based delivery robot. It uses AI to help navigate. These robots are being used to reduce energy usage and to help eliminate road congestion. So they can navigate smartly. They can deliver goods from one place to another. In fact, this company was awarded a permit to operate driverless in a test mode in California recently. Another company that was awarded a permit in California was Waymo, that you might have heard about. This is another fascinating robot that's able to navigate its way around in a completely driverless fashion. Let's watch this video. Now, obviously, so these delivery robots, they rely heavily on LiDAR, sensors, computer vision, a lot of AI and data processing that is done to identify obstacles, to identify different environments and be able to navigate around those. So in general, delivery robots, both road-based and aerial, they increase delivery speeds, they require less resources to operate, and they're more environmentally friendly. While being safer at the same time. So pretty compelling application of robots in this space. And healthcare, with COVID-19 being top of mind, it's easy to understand how robots might be used in hospital environment. So this is a picture of two robots that are used to disinfect hospital environments. The one on the left side is from a company called UVD Robots, and the one on the right is Xenex Robots. And let's watch another video here. So this is the Xenex robot that's used. This is the UVD robot that's used to disinfect hospital environment. So you can prevent spread of infections and viruses while keeping the healthcare providers safe and have them focus on patient care. And this is the video. Now, these robots are being used in a lot of hospitals and airports given COVID-19 in multiple countries. And they use UVC frequency spectrum, which is most effective in killing bacteria and viruses, not safe for humans to be exposed to. But robots are a perfect application where they can go, they can clean, they can disinfect airports and hospitals and other environments in a very safer manner. In healthcare, these AI-enabled robots are tackling not just disinfection, but very different types of problems. On the top left, here is a robot, Tommy, the robot nurse. Now, Tommy was deployed in Italy in the early months of COVID-19 outbreak to monitor patient conditions. And patients can, in fact, use the touchscreen to send messages to the doctor and get the attention. On the top right is Xenex disinfection robot that we looked at earlier. The bottom left is ESCO. It's a robot, kind of robot. It's a device, but it's from a company called ESCO Bionics. So these exoskeleton devices, which work like robots because they have intelligence, they have software, they can react to different situations. They are designed to rehabilitate individuals with spinal cord injuries, so they can live a semi-normal life and not be handicapped. The bottom right is a very fascinating robot from a company in the Bay Area called Intuitive Surgical. And this is a surgical robot. This robot is called Da Vinci. Now, this company has been around for more than 18 years, and they were pioneers of robotic surgery. These robots are able to make very tiny incisions during surgery that's guided by 3D high definition view of your inside of the body. So incisions are very precise, very tiny. Surgeons have, obviously they're controlling the surgery. They have great control over how the incision is done and how the surgery is performed. These robots can reach, easily access very difficult to reach areas. Bleeding is contained because you have very small cuts, lower chances of infection, and the patient heals faster. So if you think about surgeries and how that's gonna look like in the future, this is the future of surgery where you can be a lot more efficient, you can be a lot quicker and a lot more precise, improving the overall patient care and outcome. So robots, if you look at the healthcare space in general, from the patient care to surgeries to disinfection to assisting people with disabilities or injuries, I think this is going to be a huge space. And in the next decade, this market is going to grow in a big way. So this is robots in healthcare. And finally, what's near and dear to my heart, robots for food. Here is a robot, Rubion. This is an autonomous strawberry picking robot from a company called Octanian. It very delicately picks strawberries. And here are some other robots. So on the left side, you see a robot called Dino from a company called Nio Technologies that's used to identify and weed out the crop. On the top right is an agriculture drone from a company called DJI, and it's designed for crop spraying. And thanks to AI and sensors that are buried in the soil, these drones can be programmed to assess crop health and selectively spray where spraying is needed to contain the disease in your crop. And bottom right is a Fensaver robot, a small robot that's used to plant seeds with precise patterns and densities. Now, there are also robots being introduced to help harvest produce, and we saw one for strawberry picking, but there are many robots that are being developed for harvesting for picking very delicate crop. And I'll show you another video here. This is the weed picking robot that we saw earlier. It uses AI to pick out weeds from crop. Again, in this application also, very heavy reliance on computer vision. So you can identify and separate weeds from the real crop. So a lot of matching, classification matching that happens behind the scenes. Very smart application of growing a crop with minimal resources and minimal use of pesticides. Another fascinating area in agriculture that's evolving is robotic greenhouses that some of you might have heard about. They provide climate control, technologically advanced environments to increase the crop success and monitor growth. They have sensors that monitor everything from temperature and humidity to water levels and nutrients. And they can grow using these robotic greenhouses or vertical farming. You can produce year-round crop without using pesticides, because you can it's a very controlled environment, very efficient environment that you can monitor and react to. So in all these applications, one thing you will notice is that intelligent robots and AI is being used by these robots to tackle the challenges that we face as a society, which is we have growing population, and unsustainable methods to grow crop and to feed people. In many parts of the world, there is labor shortage for harvesting and for working in the field. So robotics and AI allows us to produce crop more efficiently. It allows us to produce crop without using pesticides or using them selectively. It allows us to improve yield and using less resources, so we can minimize the environmental impact and feed the growing population. So
Mr. Vipin, sorry to interrupt you. Can you stop sharing your screen and start again? Because there seems to be someone annotating on the screen.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So did you miss any part or?
No, all good.
Okay. Yeah, so in all these applications, robotics and AI allows us to be more efficient with agriculture, to grow crop more efficiently, to grow it safely, minimize the use of chemicals and pesticides, and do it safely with minimal effort. And then you can imagine the food preparation. Now this is, food preparation industry is expanding its use of robots to increase output, to improve precision in food preparation, and reduce human errors across foods as diverse as coffee, burgers, baked goods, and of course, smoothies. And with the threat of COVID-19, these robots are being used to prepare and serve food while eliminating human-to-human contact and the spread of virus. Now, my company, Blended, plays in this space. So why food preparation space. So when I started this company in 2015, I wanted to use robotics and AI to revolutionize food preparation. Again, as Shiv mentioned earlier, inspired by Star Trek Replicator. And I imagined a future where you could have access to food that you like, prepared the way you like it, to your taste, to your allergies, to your nutrition needs, anywhere and any time of the day. And at that time, I imagined that robotics and AI was getting to a point where it could be used to serve that purpose. And that's when we started the company. And Blended's mission is to make personalized, healthy, delicious food affordable and accessible to everyone. And I'll show you a quick video here.
Meet Blended, a contactless, automated solution for healthy on-the-go eating that's ordered from the safety of your cell phone and prepared by a robot with zero human interaction. Let's try one. Sarah here selects an antioxidant-rich, immunity-boosting blend and customizes it based on her unique taste and health preferences. It notes Sarah's custom blend and begins gathering the ingredients: whole fruits, vegetables, seeds, powders, and juices that are fully protected through the Blended supply chain. Doing all this while multitasking Dan's, Ben's, and Ava's custom orders. Then it's blended, ready to pour, and served to you, anywhere, anytime. And now, Blended's AI engine knows the individual preferences of Sarah and all Blended consumers, so that each blend is crafted specifically for them, with no risk of viruses or contamination, always healthy, safe, and reliable. Real food, artificial intelligence. To learn more, visit blended.com.
Yeah, so as you can imagine, in such a food preparation application, you use robotics and AI to not only automate food preparation, but make it highly personalized for each consumer, because what you like and what's good for your body is different from my needs. And you have to be able to prepare food exactly to an individual's specific needs. And AI in this system is used for a variety of purposes. We use AI to adapt and improve recipes based on the consumer feedback. So the system will formulate automatically and improve the formulation after the initial recipe is created by a chef. The system will self-configure, a lot of object detection, a lot of level sensing, error detection and recovery from those. In fact, I will give you a fun fact, and those of you who are studying physics and math, so we use calculus for level sensing. Remember integration? Anybody? So we use integration to detect the level in real time. That is based on the height, how much has been poured, because we need to serve exactly 12 ounces or 16 ounces serving size. And we use math to compute that and to make sure the customer always gets the 12-ounce serving size. So fascinating applications of what you study and what you learn. We also use AI to make personalized recommendation. In fact, we have been experimenting with some AI-based recipes. This is not recommendation. This is creating brand new formulations based on data about you and food science. So system will create brand new formulation that no chef had ever created. And they will align with your body, with your taste, allergies, and lifestyle. So we haven't rolled that out yet, but that's the level of innovation and personalization you can do once you apply AI to a problem. So very, very interesting area with a lot of opportunity in the future. To summarize, imagine a world where smart robots can facilitate manufacturing, healthcare, delivery, and food preparation, among many other applications. And as more and more companies in these industries start using AI robots, we would see increasing collaboration between humans and machines. I hear from people, they always talk about they get scared about robots taking over jobs. This is something we have been worrying about for the last 50 years, that automation will take away jobs. But rather than thinking about robots stealing our jobs, we have to think about how robots can change how we work and where we spend the energy. We need people who would focus their energy on creative and higher value work, not mundane, mechanical, repetitive tasks. But robots can do those much better than humans can in a safer environment and with much better resilience. People are necessary to design, build, program, train, and improve these robots. These are all STEM-related disciplines, but people are also needed to deploy, to monitor, to service these robots. There are so many frontiers that we need to explore, so many complex problems we need to solve. And we need to apply human capital to those endeavors. We need to provide training. We need to give them opportunity, give them the safety net so they can pursue those dreams that they have for. I haven't met a single person who actually wants to build a career flipping burgers or making smoothies. This is not a career profession. These are stepping stones. We need to create that opportunity for people. And for you who are in high school or college, this is a fantastic time to be pursuing STEM education and careers. Whether you are pursuing mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, cognitive science, data science, future is full of opportunities. One thing I will share from my experience, from my life experience, be curious. Make sure you use your time in your high school or college to develop, to build the discipline to learn. We always talk about what's the value of college? What do you learn and how much do you apply what you learn? Maybe very little, but college gives you that discipline, the ability to learn, always be learning and work hard. There are no shortcuts in life. But if you follow these three things, the curiosity, always be learning and work hard, sky will be the limit. Any dream you have will be achievable. On that note, I will conclude my talk and take questions.
Okay, so our first question is, how does one weigh the chances of a computer error, malfunctioning, or hacking against its benefits?
That's a great question. So this is where I think you have to look at any kind of technological innovation. You can always have bugs. You're always dealing with hacking and attacks. And I think the best answer you can have is whenever you build a product, you need to build the resilience that the product needs so it can be used by the masses. Now, technology has been used, automation has been used in the industry, in the industrial world for a long time. So it's not new, but now I think it is coming to the forefront where everyday consumer applications can use robotics and AI. And I think we just need to build better systems. We need to have better engineers who can build better systems and do stress testing before you deploy them for mass adoption. Similar to level 3 to level 5 autonomy. I mean, there are so many corner cases, there are so many bugs that you can have. You need to just give it time, you need to perfect it. And there is always going to be a war between the good and the bad, be it in a physical world or be it in a digital world. And you have to deal with that, you have to live with that. So it's a fight, it's a constant fight. So there is no magic bullet, be it the physical world or digital world, you have to deal with exceptions.
Our next question is, how is data science related to AI?
So data science is fundamental to AI. So when you think about any AI application, you are dealing with a lot of data. You have to collect data for whatever use case you want to address using AI. You have to understand data. You have to remove spurious data. You have to weed out the bad quality data. You have to really parse all the data, make it good for the system to learn from. and then apply that for the real application. So data science is essential to any AI application. And if you have a good foundation in data science, I think it gives you a good view into looking at the AI application and figure out what problem is solvable in the short term using AI, and what kind of data do you need to solve that problem. So they go hand in hand. There is the algorithmic side and there is a data science side. They go hand in hand to solve any problem.
And the question is, if we are in 12th.
Say it again.
Okay, so
12th, what should we focus now on robotics basics or in JEE, IIT JEE? Like which college of engineering is better for robotics?
So the question is, what is good to pursue? Is it robotics or engineering?
No, which college is good for robotics? Which college?
Which college is good for robotics? Now, that is, I will give you two perspectives. There are many colleges, and I know about the college in the US more so than in India. There are a lot of colleges that have really good robotics programs. They have good research across all areas of robotics and AI, be it your mechatronics, be it your end effector, which is the arms, and be it different aspects of AI, from deep learning to reinforcement learning. There is a lot of research going on, a lot of opportunity to learn. The colleges that we consider in the industry, the top notch for robotics are MIT and CMU. But that is not to say these are the only colleges. There are a lot of colleges with really good robotics programs. So I think this has become such a mainstream research area that you'll be hard pressed not to find a college that does not do something in robotics. So, and anywhere you go, I think the first step is just learn the basics and develop the ability to learn, because there is so much you will learn on your own after the college. And more you are in tune with the desire and motivation to learn, faster your ramp is going to be once you are in the industry, and you will see real world applications of robotics.
So our next question is very specific. So I'm going to make it more high level. Which fields do you feel will be the most affected by AI in the near future? And to ask the more specific question, the field of business and economics.
So my belief is AI will touch every facet of our lives. So it's not that one area will be bigger than the other. Yes, there are going to be those variances between different verticals, but AI will touch everything you do. What used to be simple data and your database tables, think about AI. That is, you have this intelligent layer that is looking at all the data and applying that to deduce, applying that to predict, and applying that to change the interaction between the physical world and the digital world. AI will touch everything. What was the second part of the question, Shiv?
The specific field of business and economics.
Business and economics. So AI is already being used for a lot of the data analysis and the predictive modeling in economics. And I think anywhere you have any decision making that is data centric, you can extrapolate that and AI will apply. So business and economics, I think it will, AI definitely will be big in that area too, because how we run businesses and how we look at the financial world, it's all very data centric. And more AI you can use to understand behaviors, to understand the past, and from there to predict the future outcome, absolutely critical. I think, yeah, that is an area that will see a lot of AI.
So you have briefly touched upon the use of robots in healthcare, but specific to the recent times of COVID, How much has the necessity of advancements in robotics been caused by COVID?
So I think the current pandemic is increasing, enhancing the mind share around robotic automation, because in lot of services that were impacted by COVID, people are realizing that if you had robotic automation, you could actually maintain those services. You could actually offer those services and not shut down. So what used to be, at least in my view, what used to be forward thinking has become current thinking. And I'm seeing more and more people asking about robotics and food space that we operate in. So the demand for robotic products and services is accelerating because of the pandemic. Because everybody is worrying about next time the pandemic hits, they want to be in a better position to have business continuity, to have the services, to have the products available without shutting down. So I think it is making the robotics and AI mind share. So right now it's a mind share that people seem to be a lot more comfortable and they're asking about it. Robotics and AI in general, I think is still pretty early. We are still just breaking the ground in various applications. There is still a lot more work to be done to change the industries and to make the industries completely AI and robotics enabled. So work is ongoing, but there is more adoption, more mind share given the pandemic.
Our next question is, what are some difficulties that Blended faces?
Oh boy, we have gone through a lot of obstacles because food preparation is not easy to automate, right? I mean, you're dealing with not just technology, but you're dealing with real ingredients. You're dealing with different types of solids, your kale and spinach and carrots and bananas and different types of liquid, different viscosities, different types of superfoods that you want to use for formulation. And all of this, they all have different challenges because based on the size, the cut, the texture, handling food is not easy using technology. So we had a lot of issues early on around dispensing, right? So be able to dispense a given ingredient precisely for a formulation. We built our own dispensing solution using a lot of physics and chemistry that you're studying in college and school. So a lot of those issues around dispensing that we had to overcome. When it comes to mechatronics, that you're dealing with a lot of motion planning, and think about a really, really large number of paths that your robot could take. And how do you make sure that in a fully multitasking system, the robot can take all those paths and it can do that without interfering, without bumping into things. So this is an area where you use reinforcement learning for motion planning. So a lot of those challenges that we had to overcome, and because nobody had done it before, application, we had to overcome a lot of those challenges. So right now for us, the challenge for us is going to be more regulatory, because when you deploy such a system for food preparation, you have to go through those local and county level and state level regulatory approvals. So we are in that process with various health departments and regulatory bodies to deploy this widely. But technological challenge, I think in past 5 years, I think I would say we have tackled the technological challenges. Right now, the blended system operates with 99.9% uptime. That is, it does not fail, does not require any intervention for 3 nines. There are some very rare corner cases that you may have to intervene and address, which in most cases can be done remotely. So yeah, so still a lot to do, but I think but a lot of challenges that we had to overcome over the years.
So if blended is to put an ingredient into a smoothie by mistake because the wrong ingredient was put and the consumer is allergic to it, how does blended deal? How do the people at blended react to that?
So so it's a really good question. There are two aspects to it. One is from a technology, from a system perspective, how do you handle not only just the ingredients, but human errors, right? And you have to build that intelligence in the system. So we use machine vision very heavily. There are 9 cameras inside a blended kiosk. So use machine vision heavily for object detection, for ingredient detection. So we know exactly where each ingredient is. And in that process, if during servicing, a human operator swaps ingredients because for whatever reason, the system is able to detect where everything is after servicing, and it will auto calibrate and you do the right thing while sending an alert to the operator saying, by the way, you have to do it properly because you messed up. I have recovered from it, but next time follow the process. So that's the first level defense that you have, that system has to be able to recover from human errors. So this is where you go when you operationalize a product as complicated as blended. You have to not just make it functionally work, you have to make it operationally more resilient. And that's a phase where you're dealing with not the systematic issues, but human-induced errors. And whatever you do and how much ever you train, people will do mistakes. And you have to be able to recover from those mistakes automatically for a fully autonomous system. So that's the first thing we do. And obviously, there is a whole slew of audit control you have to have in place. So temperature management, for example, is a huge issue in food preparation. You need to maintain the temperature of each ingredient that you're using for food preparation very precisely. And you have to build a system to be able to do that and to be able to sense and take reactive measure. So those are all the controls that you have to put in, which over the years we have gone through. And the worst case, yes, you can, in the worst case, if for whatever reason you have an accident, well, you better carry a big liability insurance to overcome. But first you want to make sure the food is safe and the whole experience is safer. And this is where you have to apply technology.
How to do internship in blended when we are 12th?
Can you repeat the question?
How can we do internship in blended when we are in 12th?
Internship at blended? So we do have a pretty robust internship program, but we only take college students who are sophomore or higher. So after you have been in college and have done your first year, then we have a good, robust internship program. And in the past, we have got interns from both the US colleges and from Canada. We haven't ventured into India yet, but yeah. So if you are in this area, after the first year, it can be a good place to come hang out and learn about robots.
Okay, so moving on to our next question, it's about what are some of the other subjects one should take in high school and college other than computer science?
So I think if you really want to work on robotics, you have to be comfortable with the physical world. That is, you have to be able to tinker with things, not be afraid to deal with hardware, not be afraid to deal with things that you might be doing in your either college or high school workshops, be able to operate machines, be able to cut things, be able to design things. So there are things that are more structured, like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, but I think there are things that you can just do on your own. It's nowadays it's fairly easy to have mini lab set up in your house. There are so so many control systems that you can purchase that are building blocks that will give you the building blocks for building robots. And just start tinkering, just start playing with it. There are so many resources available online that you can tap into. If you have any robotics programs, so for example, FIRST. So FIRST is an organization that promotes learning, STEM education and learning about robots. And they are a international organization, and there are games. They have different programs, FTC, FLL, FTC, and FRC programs. And every year they announce a challenge and they announce a control kit. And you have to build robots to do specific things. It's a very good stepping stone where you can learn at the ground level about robots and software, hardware, and start building things. So I think that is what I would say, that yes, in the college, you can go into data science, the computer science, cognitive science, you can do mechanical, electrical. So they're all very relevant in the 21st century. But even before that, just start tinkering. Just join one of these programs where you can start building robots, small robots to do things. That's the best way to learn.
Okay, our next question is, in a world where personal data is often being misused, how does Blended plan to protect the information it must obtain to provide personalized smoothies?
So that's a really good question. So obviously with Blended, we are very deliberate about not using your data and not sharing your data with anybody, bar none. We don't share any data with anybody. It's only used for giving you a highly personalized food experience. You have to obviously put controls in place to protect against cyber attacks, right? Because any business that's digital is prone to cyber attacks. You have to have the right controls. You have to have the right systems in place that are compliant, that are safe. So these are the two things. One is that you need to be deliberate about not sharing data. And second is you need to have the safeguards in place to protect against any intrusion and there's a whole slew of guidelines and protocols that you need to follow to secure your perimeter and inside of the network. So we follow those.
What careers can one have if he or she decides to pursue the study of AI?
Endless. I think that if you're pursuing robotics or AI, the career opportunities are going to be endless, because they will touch every aspect of our lives. And we will need more and more skilled people in these areas. So you can go from, there are four segments that we covered today, from manufacturing to delivery to healthcare to food and agriculture. This is not it. I mean, there are all these areas that somebody asked a question about business and economics. Yes, that will get, that will see AI. Anything that you imagine will use AI. So a lot of option from a career perspective. I think the key thing is for you to learn AI, not with a specific application in mind, unless you are already thinking about a problem that you want to solve, but think about building a good foundation. Understand the basics, understand the nuances behind what drives AI, what are the building blocks, and how can you put them together. There are so many libraries available from Google and Amazon and everybody else. You have to start playing with things and start developing that appreciation for what AI is. And once you have the foundation, I think you can morph into any industry, and you can apply that your education and knowledge into a lot of different industries. So yeah, so don't worry about the career opportunities. There are plenty of those in a lot of areas, but build a good foundation in AI.
At what stage in a student's career can he or she get into artificial intelligence?
Up to you. I think you can start learning about it in middle school. there are resources available today for you to get your feet wet, to start learning about the basics of AI, and to start building upon that in high school. College, I think, is college where you might appreciate it the most, but I think college is not the first place where you want to learn about AI. And in this day and age, I think with so much access to resources online and offline, I think you should be learning about AI as soon as you can understand what algorithms are and start getting your feet wet.
So our next question is about what are some fields that will never get touched by AI and robots?
I don't know if there is going to be anything that will not be touched. I think it is the level of influence or level of automation that AI and robotics will enable. But I think every facet will get touched, but to different extent. Some industries are more robotics and AI friendly in the sense that you can make a much bigger impact. There are some industries that still have to rely on a lot of human emotions and human traits that will take a long time for AI to catch up to. But every area will get touched, but to different extents. So for example, I think when it comes to caring for elderly population, I think you still want that human touch. I think that is a vulnerable population that requires more care, gentle care, and there is a lot of emotion that has to flow. And AI is not quite there. Even with deep learning, I think we are decades away from getting to that level of human intelligence and emotions. So it's hard to say. I think every area will get touched, but to a different extent.
Okay, so this seems to be our last question for today. It's quite specific, but I'll just ask it. Pursued a degree in pure maths, is it too late to switch to AI?
Not really. I think if you think about AI, now AI has a lot of different dimensions. You can think about AI from a data science perspective. You can think about AI from application perspective. And you can think about AI from pure algorithmic perspective. Now, ultimately, everything is math behind it. When you think about any kind of algorithm, be it your reinforcement learning or deep learning, there is serious math behind it. So if you really want to, if you're passionate about mathematics, think about how to apply that for new algorithms, for new approaches to solve problems. And that can be a very interesting area. Who is to say that what we have done so far with AI and the algorithms is be all and end all? You could come up with new ways to do AI. So I think that depends on how you apply that. So find the right areas, understand the algorithm behind a lot of machine learning algorithms, and see if you can build upon that to do something better. That will be AI, and then you can evolve into higher level in the stack. But at the most basic level, it's all mathematics.
So with that, I think we'll conclude today's session. On behalf of all our viewers, we would like to thank you, Mr. Vipin Jain, for taking out the time to give us this insightful session into robotics and AI. To all our viewers and to Mr. Vipin Jain, thank you again. Hope you all remain safe during these uncertain times. Just a quick reminder, next Sunday we have a session with Mrs. Shailaja Dutt, who is a recruiter for businesses. She will be talking about self-development and preparing for college. Thank you all again. Good night. Have a good day, Mr. Vipin Jain.
Thank you, guys.